Hello everyone, and welcome to my CBS Wonderful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Holden is arrested. He reveals to Nick Sienna's true identity. Genoa City wakes up under a heavy Argentine sky, the kind that always seems to herald disaster, and for Holden Novak, disaster is no longer brewing, it has arrived. By mid-morning, enchantresses cut through the quiet thoroughfares near the athletic club, drawing curious ganders from passers-by and indurating exchanges mid-sentence inside society. When two uniformed officers step through the doors with unmistakable purpose, the room seems to shrink, every tale dying as their eyes lock onto Holden. He's seated alone, coffee untouched, jaw tight, eyes formally betraying the fact that he knew this moment was coming. Holden doesn't run. He doesn't argue. He simply exhales, long and laggedly, as if surrendering to a fate he's been overrunning for months. When the officer reads his rights, charges including fraud, identity manipulation, and inhibition, Holden's aspect films compactly toward the window, as though he's searching for one last escape. There isn't one. Bind clicks shut, metallic and final, and just like that, the man who has been operating in the murk of Genoa City is marched out into the daylight, exposed. News peregrination gourmandize in this city. But this spreads like campfire. Within an hour, Nick Newman hears the scuttlebutt, and incontinently dismisses it. Genoa City rumors are currency, and Nick has learned the hard way not to invest too heavily without evidence. Still, commodity about Holden's arrest gnaws at him, an itch he can't ignore. Holden has always been slippery, too polished, too careful with his words. And also there's Sienna. Every instinct Nick has tells him that whatever the police hold Holden in for, it's tangled up with her. Nick doesn't vacillate. He leaves Newman Enterprises mid-meeting, slightly sparing an explanation, and heads straight for the station. Holden sits in an interrogation room that feels colder than it should, fluorescent lights buzzing above, casting harsh murk across his face. The confidence he formerly wore like armor has cracked. His hands fluctuate, not from fear of captivity, but from the knowledge that the verity is eventually closing in. When the door opens and Nick walks in, Holden looks up sluggishly, eyes narrowing. There it is, the Newman presence. The weight of the family that has crushed better men than him. Nick doesn't sit right down. He stands across from Holden, arms folded, expression undecipherable, but his voice is sharp as glass when he eventually speaks. "Start talking," Nick says flatly. "Because I know this isn't just about fake documents." For a moment, Holden says nothing. Silence stretches, thick and uncomfortable. Also he laughs a short, earnest sound that surprises indeed him. "You always get the verity ultimately, Newman," he mutters. "I guess this time you earned it beforehand." Nick leans forward, hands braced on the table, eyes locked on Holden's. "What do you know about Sienna?" he asks. The name alone changes the air in the room. Holden's jaw tightens. His eyes outraged to the one-way glass, also back to Nick. "You do'n't indeed know who she really is," Holden says still. And just like that, Nick knows this isn't just another con. This is commodity far bigger. Holden confesses infractions at first, as though easing himself into the verity will make it hurt less. He admits that Sienna isn't the woman she claims to be, that her background, her accentuation, indeed her medical records were precisely constructed falsehoods. Nick's tolerance wears thin snappily. "I do'n't need theatrics," he snaps. "I need data." Holden quaffs hard. "Her real name isn't Sienna," he eventually says. "It's Sierra Monroe." Nick stiffens. The name hits him like a punch to the casket. Memories flood tide back, old police reports, courtrooms, trauma that his family slightly survived. "That's not possible," Nick says, but the certainty in his voice is gone. Holden shakes his head sluggishly. "It is. And she's not just connected to the Monroes, she's one." The concession pours out now, impregnable. Holden explains how Sierra, tracked him down months ago, how she formally knew about his history with forged individualities and underground connections. She didn't hang him. She didn't need to. She offered protection, plutocrat, and commodity far more dangerous purpose. She wanted a clean slate in Genoa City, access to the Newmans, and a narrative that would make her untouchable. Holden created the paperwork, rerouted digital trails, bought the right people. Every move she made toward Nick, toward his family, toward positions of trust, was calculated. Nick listens, firmed, wrathfulness stewing beneath the face. Why? Nick demands. Why come back then? Holden's answer is simple and intimidating. Vengeance. Outside the interrogation room, the fallout begins. Sharon hears whispers at crimson lights and incontinently senses that Nick is at the center of commodity explosive. Victoria gets a call from Newman security attesting Holden's arrest, and her instincts scream that this will affect the entire family. Meanwhile, Sienna herself sits in the extension she worked so hard to secure, watching news cautions light up her phone. Holden's name flashes across the screen. Arrested. Questioned. The smile she wears is small, controlled, but her eyes darken. She undervalued one thing: Holden's fear of being forgotten. And now, the verity threatens to unravel everything. Back at the station, Nick struggles to reuse the magnitude of Holden's concession. Sierra Monroe. The name carries history soaked in blood, lies, and trauma. Nick remembers the damage her family foisted, the scars that no way completely healed. His voice lowers, thick with rage. You helped her walk right back into our lives, he says. Holden doesn't deny it. She was always going to find a way, he replies. I just made it easier. Nick straightens, decision hardening in his eyes. Also, you're going to help me stop her. Holden hesitates, knowing there's no interpretation of this story where he walks free. But if he's going down, he wants the verity exposed. He reveals Sienna's coming move, her plan to secure influence through a fiscal junction tied laterally to Newman Enterprises, a backdoor play designed to give her access to non-public data and family means. Nick feels sick. The woman he trusted, commended in, defended was playing a long game embedded in revenge. He storms out of the interrogation room, phone formally in hand, calling Victor Newman. This is no longer particular. This is war. By evening, Genoa City buzzes with pressure. Police vehicles loiter outside crucial locales. Newman security doubles overnight. And Sienna senses the shift. When Nick shows up unannounced at her door, she knows the moment has come. The look in his eyes tells her everything. What did Holden tell you? She asks calmly, far too calmly. Nick doesn't answer right down. He studies her face, searching for the woman he allowed. He knew, but all he sees now is a foreigner wearing a familiar smile. Your real name, Nick says sluggishly, is Sierra Monroe. For the first time, her countenance cracks. The silence between them is blaring. Also, Sienna exhales and straightens, mask slipping down. I wondered how long it would take, she says vocally. There's no denial. No gashes. Only quiet resoluteness. Nick shakes his head, devastated. You prevaricated to me, he says. About everything. Sierra meets his aspect. Unapologetic. I survived, she replies. And you don't survive people like your family without getting someone differently. Nick feels the treason cut deeper than he anticipated. This wasn't just a scheme, it was emotional warfare. As the occasion closes, Holden is officially reserved, his future uncertain but sealed. Nick stands on the edge of a disclosure that will shatter connections across Genoa City. And Sierra Monroe, no longer hiding, prepares for her coming move, knowing that exposure doesn't mean defeat. In Genoa City, the verity doesn't end the game. It only changes the rules. And one thing is certain: Holden's arrest wasn't the end of the story, it was the morning of a storm that will tear through the young and the restless like no way ahead. Night settles over Genoa City like a bruise, dark and heavy, and for Nick Newman, sleep is insolvable. The disclosure of Sienna's true identity, Sierra Monroe, renewals in his mind on an endless circle. Every smile she ever gave him now twisted into commodity, sharp and dangerous. He stands in the living room at the estate, gaping out the window, hands gripped so tightly his knuckles pain. Trust has always been an adventure in this city, but this treason feels particular in a way Nick didn't anticipate. He didn't just let Sierra into his life, he let her close to his family. At the extension across city, Sierra paces sluggishly, methodically, her heels clicking against the marble bottom like a preamble. The mask is out now, and strangely, she feels lighter. No more pretending to be the inoffensive woman who stumbled into Genoa City looking for a fresh launch. That interpretation of her served its purpose. Holden's arrest was an vexation, yes, but not a surprise. Men like Holden always talk ultimately. Sierra pours herself a drink, her hand steady. Let them come, she murmurs to the empty room. I've been staying. The coming morning, Genoa City is buzzing. Word of Holden's arrest is far and wide, but the verity behind it still tightly controlled, at least for now. At Newman Enterprises, Victoria senses the pressure the moment she walks in. Work is brute, security is on edge, and when Nick storms into the superintendent's suite unannounced, she knows this isn't just another family disagreement. We've a problem, Nick says bluntly. Victoria closes the door. You're going to have to be more specific, she replies. Nick doesn't desolate time. Sienna isn't Sienna. She's Sierra Monroe. Victoria freezes. The name carries history she hoped was buried ever. That's not possible, she says, echoing Nick's before denial, but her voice lacks conviction. Nick explains everything Holden confessed, the forged individualities, the calculated entry into their lives, the vengeance motive. By the time he finishes, Victoria's face has hardened into pure resoluteness. Also we stop her, she says, before she does any further damage. Nick nods, but the weight in his casket remains. He knows Sierra won't go still. Meanwhile, Sharon hears the name Sierra Monroe from an unanticipated source. Chance Chancellor. He stops by Crimson Lights under the guise of grabbing coffee, but his expression gives him down. Nick asked me to look into commodity, Chance says precisely. Sharon's heart sinks. She's been down this road ahead. When Chance confirms the verity, Sharon feels a bite crawl up her chine. She's back, Sharon whispers. Memories resurface. Chaos, fear, lives nearly destroyed. Why now? Chance shrugs. That's what we're trying to figure out. At the police station, Holden sits alone in his cell, gaping at the concrete wall. The adrenaline has worn off, replaced by remorse and a eating sense of ineluctability. He knows Sierra will survive this, she always does. But for the first time, Holden prodiges if helping her was a mistake he won't be suitable to live with. When Chance approaches his cell, Holden looks up sluggishly. You want more, Holden says. Chance doesn't deny it. I want everything, he replies. Holden exhales. Also you better move presto, he warns. Because Sierra doesn't lose. She adapts. Sierra makes her coming move before Nick can make his. She requests a meeting with Victor Newman. The audacity of it would be emotional if it weren't so intimidating. Victor listens in silence as Nick relays the request. She wants to talk, Nick says. Victor's eyes narrow. She wants to negotiate, he corrects. Against Nick's expostulations, Victor agrees to meet on his terms. You do'n't master an adversary by hiding from them, Victor says coolly. You look them in the eye. The meeting takes place in Victor's office, the air thick with pressure. Sierra enters alone, dressed perfectly, confidence radiating from her every step. She doesn't blench under Victor's regard. You've caused quite a stir, Victor remarks. Sierra smiles noiselessly. You tutored me well, she replies. Nick bristles at her familiarity, but Victor remains composed. Why are you then? He asks. Sierra doesn't vacillate. Because the history doesn't stay buried, she says. And because whether you like it or not, I'm part of this family's story. Victor's jaw tightens. You're delusional if you suppose. If I suppose I'm then for remission. Sierra interrupts gently. No. I'm then for acknowledgement. She lays out her claim not to love, not to acceptance, but to power. She knows where the configurations are buried, she says. She knows which secrets could strike the Newman conglomerate if exposed. Nick realizes also that this was no way about vengeance alone. This is about influence. Back at the estate, Nikki senses the shift before anyone tells her. When Nick eventually confesses the verity, Nikki's response is visceral. I knew commodity was wrong, she says, voice pulsing. I felt it. The idea that Sierra Monroe sneaked their lives so fluently leaves Nikki shaken. We ain't let her hurt anyone differently, she insists. Nick agrees, but deep down, he knows the damage is formally done. As days pass, Sierra's presence becomes a shadow brewing over Genoa City. Old alliances begin to crack. People question once relations, searching for signs they missed. Sally Spectra overhears whispers and starts digging, her instincts telling her this story could explode at any moment. Meanwhile, Chance uncovers disturbing details. Sierra has been still amassing coffers, securing abettors, and situating herself for a long-term stay. This wasn't a mega hit and run. This was an eruption. Holden, hopeless for some form of redemption, offers Chance one final piece of information. Sierra's wind-up isn't just the Newmans, it's control. She wants to rewrite the scale of this city, Holden says. And she's willing to burn it down to do it. Chance realizes the trouble is bigger than they allowed. This isn't about check. It's about survival. Nick confronts Sierra one last time, down from the power plays and substantiations. You used me, he says still. Sierra meets his aspect. Commodity nearly like remorse fluttering across her face. I watched, she says. In my own way. Nick shakes his head. That's not enough, he replies. It no way will be. Sierra steps closer, lowering her voice. This isn't over, she tells him. Not indeed close. The occasion bow closes with Genoa City on edge. Holden awaits trial, his evidence hanging to expose indeed more secrets. The Newmans brace for impact. And Sierra Monroe stands at the center of the storm she created, no longer hiding, no longer pretending, ready to claim what she believes is hers. Because in The Young and the Restless, the history doesn't stay buried. It comes back with a plan. Genoa City doesn't explode all at formally, it fractures sluggishly, hairline cracks spreading beneath the face until everything threatens to collapse. In the days following Holden's arrest, the pressure becomes unsupportable. Nick feels it far and wide. He goes in the hushed exchanges that stop when he enters a room, in the cautious aesthetics from people who formerly trusted his judgment. He renewals every moment with Sierra Monroe, searching for suggestions he ignored. The worst consummation isn't that she prevaricated, it's that she anticipated his every move. At the courthouse, Holden's censure draws further attention than anticipated. Journalists gather, cameras flashing as his attended outside. From the gallery, Chance watches nearly. Holden pleads not shamefaced, but his eyes flick nervously toward the reverse of the room, as if he expects Sierra to appear at any moment. She doesn't. That absence speaks volumes. Sierra no way shows up where she can't control the narrative. Back at Newman Enterprises, Victoria uncovers Commodity startling a shell pot still acquired shares connected to a dormant Newman attachment months ago. The paper trail is clean, too clean. When Nick sees the name on the documents, his stomach drops. It's one of Sierra's aliases. She's formally inside the walls they allowed. We're secure. She's been planning this longer than we realized, Victoria says grimly. And she's still 3 way ahead. Sharon's concern turns to sweat when she realizes Sierra has been visiting places tied to old trauma, locales that should mean nothing to anyone differently. She's retracing her history, Sharon tells Nick. That's dangerous. Nick knows she's right. Sierra isn't just consolidating power, she's rewriting history, forcing everyone to relive it on her terms. That night, Nick receives a communication from an unknown number. You tutored me how to trust again. Do'n't make me lament it. He knows incontinently who transferred it. Wrathfulness flares, but beneath it, commodity colder settles in. Sierra isn't just provoking him. She's reminding him that she still has emotional influence, and she isn't hysterical to use it. Across city, Sierra stands alone on her deck, the megacity lights reflecting in her eyes. She listens to a voicemail she no way intends to shoot, one where her voice nearly cracks, nearly reveals the cost of everything she's done. She deletes it without vacillation. Saccharity is a luxury she can't go. As dawn approaches, Nick makes a decision. He won't stay for Sierra's coming move. He calls Chance, his voice steady but bent. I'm done replying, Nick says. We end this now. Chance agrees, but warns him once this starts, there's no going back. Nick hangs up, gaping at the rising sun. Nearly in Genoa City, Sierra Monroe is formally moving her pieces into place. The game has shifted, the rules rewritten, and this time, there will be no pretending about what's at stake. Because in Genoa City, the verity doesn't set you free. It dares you to survive it.